Welcome back, everyone. Today we're gonna undercoat the Jeep. To do that, we're gonna use some undercoating on a can, and we're gonna use this gun, and we're gonna spray it. Before I did this, I had been on the car wash, and I washed it really well underneath, laying on the ground, spraying with water, scrubbing, putting foam there, and made it really clean. And then I went underneath with a brush and brushed it off. I used the air gun to blow off as much dust as I could. After that, it's important that you let it dry really well, because you don't want to trap water in between the undercoat and your vehicle, because that's gonna lead to you getting problem with rust, and that's exactly what we want to avoid. Also, don't spray this on rust. Make sure that you fix any rust issue you have before you're applying this undercoat. Undercoat I used is a sticky one, so it dries but it remains sticky. I read a lot on forums and stuff like that where people are asking why their undercoating isn't drying. So before you're buying an undercoat, research what kind of undercoating it is, if it's a sticky one or if it's a dry one. Some people say the sticky one is the one to prefer because it seals itself if it's getting like a hit or something like that. The sticky one was also the recommendation I got from the manufacturer to use when I put it over my old one, which was a dry one. This is the two products I have. This was the old one that was on. It's a Carosol TO3, Carosol TO3, and this is a F40. This brand has an English homepage, so I suppose it's possible to find these products elsewhere or similar products outside of Sweden. The reason why I choose this product is mainly because I live in Sweden. This is a Swedish product. We use a lot of salt on the roads, especially where I live, where one day is with snow and they put a lot of salt on the road, and the next day everything is gone. So the F40 was the recommendation on the outside layer. Also keep in mind, every time you use anything like this, you need a water separator on the compressor. If you don't have that, you're risking getting a layer of moisture in between your undercoat and the car, or you even risk getting moisture into your undercoating, and that's nothing that you want. So use a water separator at any time when you're using some sort of spray gun. Okay, so I decided to start with the wheel wells, and I got it on the spray gun now, and from this is you just start to spray. You should probably wear a mask and protection glasses. We're done with the coating, and it turned out good. And now all this has to dry, of course, and then I'm gonna decide if I'm gonna do one more coat or if if one is enough. And I'm gonna show you how it looks underneath. So here we are underneath, and we got the uniframe coated, as well as the body underneath. The undercoat I put on the first time have been drying for a couple of days. I maintain a pretty high heat in here in the garage to help speed up the drying process. Though the undercoat I used is a sticky one, so it dries but it remains sticky. The F40 was the recommendation on the outside layer. This one though is slightly thinner, and I'm gonna spray this one inside of my frame. So I cleaned up all the holes in my frames with this air pressure. I sprayed out all the dust as I could, and now I'm gonna apply this inside of the frame or inside of the unibody in all holes, so I get a protection inside as well. The way I did to clean and get the dust out from the inside of the frame was basically to blow it off with the compressed air. When the inside of the frame and all holes in the frame is cleaned up, I'm going to use the same spray gun as before, but I'm going to remove the top and attach this pipe on it. This pipe will help me to be able to get into all the holes in the frame. I was recommended to use the thin one, the TO3, for this application by the manufacturer, because the thicker one will clog up the pipe and the nozzle of the spray gun if it's used, and this is also a dry one. The manufacturer also told me that it's possible to use this as a primer and as a base layer before you applicate the thicker one and the sticky one. So before you buy any one of these products or before you start to undercoat your car, do your research, and so you really know what kind of product you buy, because there's different kinds of products and they work in different ways. I'm ready to start this by putting it into the hole and spray it on the inside. And I will go over every single hole that I could find in the unibody and spray it all inside with this one. And the way to go with this is to go with it straight, because it comes from on the sides and it goes forward. And when you're using this kind of applications, wear your protection glasses, because I actually heard stories about this thing exploding. When you're doing this, you should use a face mask or be in a very well ventilated area, which I am now. I have all the windows and doors open in my garage. I had some issues with the pipe coming off, so I'm going to secure it a little bit. This one came up pretty easy, so I definitely recommend you to secure this as well by putting a hose clamp here. Now it will stay on. That was the left side, and I'm going to continue with the right side of the vehicle off camera. And I'm also going to take one more soak in all the holes I can find so I'm soaking it 2 times. We're back once more in the garage, and the undercoat I put in the unibody has been drying for a couple of hours now. And before we're finishing this video off, I want to show you under the Jeep exactly what I coated and what I didn't coat, because I see quite often when people doing this coat, they coat absolutely everything, and that's not the way to go, in my opinion. Everything that is related to electronics, such as cables, connectors and stuff like that, switches and even axles, leave them uncoated, because it will be pain in the butt to get that off later on when you need to replace stuff. Same with transfer cases, drive shafts, and all moving parts. Don't undercoat them. When it comes to the axles, it's fine to undercoat them, but the way to do that, in my opinion, is to take the axle off and work only with the axle. What we're looking at here is the drive shaft, the body, and the uniframe. This is the part where I coated, but I leave the drive shaft uncoated. This is the rear view where we have the drive shaft and the transfer case. We have the body that is all coated. In the middle, I have a skid plate that covers the transfer case, which I didn't coat. We are in the front, and what you see here is the front drive shaft down to the front differential. And in this area forward, there's nothing really that you need to undercoat more than the frame structure that goes up in the wheel wells. We are in the back again, and we have the exhaust. You should never put any undercoating on the exhaust, because that turns hot and that will give some smoke. On the VJ, we have a heat shield. I would recommend you to take the heat shield off and put the coating behind. But whatever you do, don't put the undercoat on the heat shield. We are in the back, and we have the A-arm or the rear control arms on some trucks. And back here, there's a lot of cables and hoses. Be cautious with putting coating on them. I also skipped the rear control arm, because that's also something that I think you should work with by itself, by removing it. Same goes with the springs. There's no reason to put the undercoating on the springs. That's it for now. Next up is to let it dry properly. I'm gonna let it dry for around 2 to 3 days. I have around 20-25 degrees Celsius in here in the garage, and that's around the same temperature that you have in your home, basically. So maybe a little bit warmer. I'm sorry if you don't know what Celsius is, check it up. And if you have any thoughts, ideas, suggestions, what you want to see in the future, let me know in the comment. And click on this thing here to subscribe, and click up here to see the playlist where you have more videos about the Jeep and how to make stops on the Jeep. And I appreciate the time you took to watch this, and I see you soon.